As what to say here in around May 28th, that means let's go. Hello friends, my name is Chelsea. I'll be your safari driver out here today in the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Make sure those face targets do remain fully above your nose, underneath your chin for the entire duration of our safari today. That's for the safety and comfort of those around you. The safety and comfort of our animal keepers and researchers that work on here in the reserve, as well as a park-wide mandatory rule. Those have to be worn properly at all times. Now we're starting your safari out here in the Little and Terry Forest. It's home to a lot of animals that like to came up watch themselves and blend in with their.
I got it.
Yes, if any loose belongings, past plastic walls, cell phones, please keep a tight grip on them. If they fall from the truck, I'm not able to stop and get them. And they might not come back to you in the same condition that you left them in. So over here on the right side, way over in that left-hand corner, you'll find an okapi over there. Kind of hard to see here. Okapis are once believed to be mythological, being the cross between a donkey, a zebra, and a giraffe. They actually weren't even discovered until 1901. No way to find them, but yeah, no, they have one relative. It's the giraffe. They have a very similar facial structure as well as a very long tongue. Now, black rhinos do inhabit here in the forest. Unfortunately, there are less than 5,000 of them left in the entire world today. They're being poached for their horns, which contain a mineral called keratin. It's what our fingernails are made up of. Poaching a rhino forest horn does literally nothing. All keratin does is grow. And they can actually file their horns just like we can file our fingernails. That being said, if they crack, break, or fall off, they will grow back since they're not attached to their skull. It's very unfortunate the poachers are after them for something that we don't need. That has made their population decrease from 65,000 back many years ago to just under 5,000 here today in 2021. Now with helper reserves like ours around the world, we'll be able to help repopulate them, put them back into the wild in the future. Over here on the right hand side, you'll see these orange animals. One over here on the left as well. A couple of them on the left. And so the bonros. Bonros are known as the ghosts of the forest. They have white stripes to help them blend in with the different surroundings. Their horns are also curved, so when they dive into bushes to protect themselves from predators, they will not be hurt. The way to tell males and females apart is by their coat color. The male bono's coat will darken with age. The female's coat does stay the same throughout her entire life. Alright, now we're heading into the Safi River. It's one of the Nile hippopotamus as well as the Nile crocodile. They are two very territorial animals as well as two of the most dangerous animals in all of Africa. A fully grown hippo can be around 5,500 pounds. Baby hippos can be around 85 pounds when they're born. They are nocturnal. They spend most of the day in the water sleeping, and they come up at the end of the night to graze. When they graze, they'll eat around 80 to 90 pounds of vegetation per day. They can stay submerged in the water for up to 8 minutes at a time. They have a natural instinct. If they were to fall asleep in the water, they'll pop up to the surface, grab a breath of air, and sink back down to the bottom without ever waking up. Really cool. I wish I could do that. Now they normally live in a bloat, B-L-O-A-T, here on the left-hand side. So we call a group of hippos as a bloat. Normally consists of around 100 hippos. They walk along the bottom of the river to get around, and if you smell that, it's the hippo. They mark their territory with their poop. You're welcome. Kind of like a dog. If you have a dog, same difference.
Oh, so it doesn't bend.
You're welcome for the beds of information. Very pungent. You'll also see these birds. Pelicans are the peak-fed pelicans. Get their color on their skin during mating season when they need to find a mate. They'll flock with around 20 to 500 pairs of pelicans. Quite a lot of birds, if you ask me. Their wingspan is around 8 feet long. It's as long as the canopy on the top of this truck. One big bird. Speaking of birds, the black ones are the Orlando vulture. The white ones are the Orlando ibis. They all like to vacation here in Africa, and they never like to leave. No one skin you guys are fully seated for me. Here on the left, you'll see some Nile crocodiles. 20 feet long, they weigh approximately 500 pounds. They can also eat half of their body weight in one sitting. Their jaws are strong enough to squish anything that may come in their way. If you see any of them with their mouth open, that's how they regulate their body temperature, since normally it does get very hot here in Africa. So all of our animals are trained to different sounds for them to come in whenever they are called. Our crocodiles are the only crocodiles in the entire world we train to towel you. So don't try to call a crocodile in the wild because they're not going to do anything. Well, they might. But we won't cross the bridge unless we have to, quite literally. If you want to see one up close and personal, head into Dino Land. They are the closest known living relative to the dinosaur. There is one across the Restaurantosaurus for you to see up close and personal. Our next up is the savanna home to the lovely baobab tree over here on the right-hand side. The baobab tree is known as the upside-down tree. It does grow leafless for up to 9 months out of the year, and it grows to be several thousands of years old. According to African folktale, when the creator made the world, he had the world just the way he wanted it. But he reached his creation bed, and he found a tree. He didn't want the tree since his world was perfect, so he threw it up over his shoulder and landed upside down. Now we have the Vagabond tree. The only other place to see one other than here in Africa is the Tree of Life. There's over 300 animals carved into the Tree of Life, so the next time you're over at It's Up to Be a Bud, try to find as many animals as you can, because I guarantee you're going to find a different one every time you look. I see a couple of our cattle here on the right-hand side. These are the Ankoli cattle, known as the Watsusi, named after the tribe that originally found them. Their horns do span 6 feet, tip to tip, but they are not heavy at all. They're almost completely hollow. They're made of a honeycomb structure. Their blood will run through them to help keep them cool. On a hot day, they're actually able to push the blood up all the way to the top of the horns to help regulate their body temperature. The cattle themselves are considered a symbol of wealth to some Africans. At the end of the night, they will be herded to a tall, grassy pen called a manyatta to help keep them safe. So sometimes you'll see them hear the taller grass mimicking that trait. Over here on the left, you'll find a couple spotted hyenas. We have 2, one male, one female. Whichever one is larger is the female. Now, they live in a matriarchal society, so the female is the dominant one of the group. The lowest ranking female is always higher than the highest ranked male. They can digest everything, including bone. So the female at the top of the food chain, whoever is the leader of the group, is going to eat first, get the good stuff. It's going to work its way down the food chain. Whoever at the bottom of the food chain, that lower ranked male, will actually eat bone for dinner. Fun fact, bones do turn their poop white. So hyenas have white poop. So there's your Jeopardy question if you ever get that one. Could win you $20,000, you never know. Termite mounds here to the left and the right hand side. They're made of 3 natural things here in Africa. Mud, spit, and poop. Lots of poop here in Africa. That's the last one I got. It's all natural, don't worry. The termites have onyabated them, so they're not going to smell anymore. They get as hard as concrete, so they will not go anywhere throughout, although they do worn down throughout the years. A lot of the smaller animals, like the springbok, will use them as living posts, while the larger animals, like the giraffes and the elephants, will use them as scratching posts. Another view of our cattle coming up over here on the right. Now, their coat does not define their gender, but our solid colored cattle is our male cattle. Again, their coat does not define their gender, so if you're in a different Africa, you see a solid colored cattle, not necessarily a male. It could be, but not necessarily. They also moo, if you're wondering. They usually like to move when they're hungry. It's funny because they eat all day. Here on the right, you'll see those smaller brown-away antelopes. Those are the springbok. The springbok get their name because they spring 6 feet up in the air, leap 13 feet forward at any given time. They are essentially the town criers of the savannah. In the wild, if something is wrong, they'll prance around kind of like reindeer. It's called cronking. They'll do that and alert all the other animals that something is wrong. Here they do it to mimic that trait. We don't have that specific circle of life happening here on the reserve, so they just chase one another. They are the second fastest animal in all of Africa, 55 miles an hour. Right underneath the cheetah is the average of 60 miles an hour. So over here on the right, you'll see lots of wildebeests. We actually have the largest herd of wildebeests in all of human care. I don't know how many we have, but we have a lot of them. A group of wildebeests is called a confusion. When they stand there, they look confused. That is the actual reason why they're called a confusion. So my favorite fact about the wildebeest. We actually are the only the only reserve in the entire world to have 2 different species of them living together. It's kind of similar to having 2 different types of dogs living together, except the dogs already have adapted to live together, while those wildebeests have not. So we're going to see some giraffes up over here on the left-hand side. Just like how there's different kinds of cats and dogs, there are different kinds of giraffes. The 2 that are closer to us here on the left are the baby giraffes. They're only 4 months old. They're very cute. They're just about 6 feet tall. Well, just over 6 feet tall. They're about 6 feet tall when they're born. They give birth standing up, so the first thing that they experience is a 6-foot drop to the ground. They eat for 20 hours of the day. They only sleep for 30 minutes. They will not sleep that full 30 minutes all at once. They'll actually do that in 5-minute intervals throughout the day, taking micro naps. They'll sleep standing up with their eyes open, so a good indicator to see if they'll be sleeping is to see if their mouth is moving. There's another one over here on the right-hand side. She's like, this bush is really good and I have it all to myself. So they're actually too tall to reach the ground, so you can see she's kind of straightening herself because she can barely reach where she's at now. So if she wants to go any further, she'll have to bend her front legs, spread her front legs out a little bit further, and then bend her neck all the way down. Giraffe does mean graceful, except when they do that, then they're rather awkward. This is elephant country. Oh, I see him. Over here on the right, you'll see our largest, oldest male elephant. Looks like he's over in that clearing, so let's head up a little bit further. Elephants are also headed by a matriarch. The female is again the dominant one of the group, but there are no males in that female herd unless they're under the age of 13. At the age of 13, the males get kicked out of the female herd, sent up on a group of their own to find a bachelor herd of elephants comprised of older males. That will teach the younger elephant how to become a better elephant. Look at this handsome boy over here. He does stand 13 feet tall, weighs around 13,000 pounds, about the largest elephant you'll ever see. That's where they cap out at. The average height weight of male and female elephants is about 11 feet tall, 11,000 pounds. When they're very hot, on a hot day, they can flop their ears back and forth to help maintain airflow. They can also fling dirt and mud on their backs, using them from a sunscreen to help keep their skin from the sun, so that'll protect, or kind of like sunscreen, since their skin is very thin. That's what the words I was trying to use is. Now we do have researchers here that work on the reserve. They help study the animals to help them live better in the wild. One thing that we figured out here on the reserve is that the elephants are afraid of bees. They are rather intelligent animals and can actually hear up to 3 miles away. Our researchers played some different sound fields to see if they did anything, and we figured out that they are afraid of bees fairly quickly. So we ended up relaying this information to other reserves and farms around the world. It turns out in other parts of the world, elephants are about things on farms and destroying everything. So the farmers decided to put beehives around the perimeter of their property in order for them to help keep the elephants away. So it's pretty cool that we did that here in Animal Kingdom, as well as training crocodiles come to sound cues and also having 2 species of wildebeest live together to make the largest herd of wildebeest in all of Kilamanjaro. One of my favorite animals here, the left and the right. So left is going to be mom, dad's going to be, right is going to be dad. These are the Patterson's eland. They're rather large. They can stand 6 feet tall at the shoulder. So our dad over here on the right is going to be actually the size of our cattle. He's massive. When they want to mate, they'll stick a flower crown around their horns, and well, you guys know what happens after that. When males are born, they're going to be that tan color, just like how our female is over there to the left. When they get older, they're going to retain this gray color, kind of like how dad has. Shows his masculinity. Both the males and females will grow horns, but they do grow in different shapes and sizes. You'll see these rare flamingo here to the left-hand side, largest pink flamingo in all of Africa. They stand 5 feet tall, weigh approximately 9 pounds. They get their color from the shrimp that they eat. They'll be born gray every day for a couple of years. They eat shrimp, that's what's going to turn themselves that pink color. And look at the baby ducks! I know they're not African ducks, but they're Florida ducks, but they're the baby ducks. It makes me want a duck, but I have no idea how to take care of a baby duck. They don't stay very small for very long. They were just born. They're so cute. When they sleep, the flamingos, they balance on 1 foot, bury their head in the back, and it's called nesting. This is the east side of the savannah. Looks like there's a couple scimitar horned orcs up ahead. The white animals, they'll be on the right, as well as a Bontebok. Both have very similar stories. For the Bontebok, there were 17 of them left in the entire world back in the early 1800s. All 17 of them wandered into a farm. The farmer raised the Bontebok from going extinct. The numbers have repopulated to about 3,000 here today in 2021. As for the scimitar horned oryx, there was only 20 of them left in the entire world about 20 years ago. One reserve over in Africa went and rescued them all, brought them to the reserve, repopulated them. Now there's over 90 of them living on the reserve today. It's both of them are very extinct still. They're only existing on reserves like ours around the world. Not in the wild quite yet. That brown animal that's going there to the left hand side on the right is the water buck. They live by water. They drink a lot of water, hence the water buck. They also have an oily substance on their coat, so when they come out of water, they are completely dry. And the scimitar horned oryx are the very first sighting to the unicorn. Two horns that curve backwards. When lifted from the side, it looks like they only have one horn. Someone thought it was the unicorn. They tried to pass it off as the unicorn by trying to tie the horns together in order for them to grow into one horn. It didn't work very well. We still have the oryx, they still have two horns, and we have the unicorn. Well, kind of. Let's see if we can find any cheetahs here on the left. Cheetahs are the fastest land animal, 0 to 60 miles per hour in just a couple of seconds. They can't keep their speed for very long, just a couple hundred meters. If they can't catch whatever they're after within that short amount of time, they'll have to rest and try again a little bit later. They're over here. If you take a look on the right hand side, on the left, you'll see their ears twitching. They're facing the other direction, but there are two of them laying down right next to one another. We have all female cheetahs here on the reserve. Normally they're solitary, they like to live alone, but ours are sisters. They have been raised in captivity with one another, so they have been able to live together to this day. So we have a solitary cheetah, 2 sisters, and 3 sisters. So if you see them in the same yard together, it doesn't mean that they are sisters. We don't mention match our cheetahs. You'll see our male lineup over here on the left-hand side. He's taking a snooze. He's been snoozing for the last 20 hours. They sleep for 20 hours of the day. They're only active for a couple hours throughout the day, which does mean collectively throughout their entire lifetime, they're only awake for 3 years. That is with their 11 to 12-year lifespan, which is the same as a cheetah. Now their eyesight is 6 times as better than ours is at night. One of the reasons why they hunt at night, although they do normally rely on sound to catch their prey. Their roar can be heard up to 5 miles away. So if you're ever here in Africa a little later, you hear something that sounds like a lion roaring, it's probably our lion roaring. And they don't normally go to full power here in this Africa. They go like a low growling sound, so it can't be heard from 5 miles away here because they're not at their full power. But when they're at their full roar, you can definitely hear it from 5 miles away. Our one female over here always sleeps hugging this rock. It's really cute. And then the other one that's sleeping on top usually sleeps on the rock below her and then is on her back with her legs up in the air. So, not today. Maybe tomorrow. They're very cute from afar. Their paws are literally the size of her face, and they're about 600 pounds each. They're kind of like a normal house cat in terms of their tongue. They're like sandpaper, except lions are more of a finer grit because they're able to lick the bones of their prey clean. If you look between these trees over here on the left, as I pull up, you'll be able to see a couple warthogs. Warthogs have 4 different tusks, 2 for burrowing, 2 for defense. At the end of the night, they bat themselves up into the burrow, sit their tusks out, and defend themselves from predators. Males will have warts in their face, females will not. That's how you tell them apart. You can see that same water buck that we saw a little bit earlier there on the right, and then also a nest of ostriches. Doesn't look there's any ostriches over here, but the world's largest bird lays the world's largest egg. Each of them is around 3 pounds. They are the size of your face. They are extremely massive. A fully grown human can step on the egg and it will not break. It does need over 250 pounds of pressure all at once in order for it to break the egg surface. If you were to try to eat one, it will take you around 6 hours. It's equivalent to eating 2 dozen chicken eggs. So we are not supposed that dairy. Only 1/3 of them do hatch. We want to save as many animals here in Africa as possible. Area used to be used as a passageway in between different parts of the savannah for some of our different animals. The warden took notice of that, so he set up a farm. So he lives right outside of the reserve, which is with his Nigerian dwarf goats. They're over here on the left. They're super cute. Now they're only about 2 feet tall. They're not going to get any bigger, but their smaller size keeps it easy to maintain them. By playing with one another, it helps them mature into an adult goat, but they're going to retain that same size. Get him. Yeah? They are dairy goats, the milk to help provide some load for villagers over here in the area. They're also going to help maintain the landscape and get in these hard to reach areas where something like a rhino, they're 5,000 pounds, they'd have such a hard time grazing this area. Now remember to help to protect the local wildlife, all you need to do is just recycle. Recycling your park maps, your water bottles, even recycling your cell phones. A lot of these animals' homes are being mined for a mineral called coltan, which is found in your electronics. So by recycling your electronics, you're going to help save the home of that animal. You can also donate to Disney's Conservation Fund. Right now they're working with about 13 different species, including African wild dogs, sea turtles, tiger, coral, rhinos, and many other animals. You can learn more about that at any merchandise location. Disney will match penny for penny, dollar for dollar if you decide to donate. If you don't buy something later, just round up your change and donate that to the Conservation Fund. I promise you, every penny does help us out the animals we know and love today. Now if you're looking for some more animals, head up the hill to the right one to drop you off. You'll find Gorilla Falls. It does close at 6:45. You've got about an hour left. It's about a 15 to 20 minute walking shop. There's gorillas, zebras, naked walrus, and meerkats. Over in Asia, you find the Maharaja Trek. Closes around the same time, might close a little bit earlier though, so keep an eye out on your times guide or the Minds of the Experience app. That's where the tigers and the water buffalo are. As for us here at Kilamanjaro Safaris, our last safari departs here in Rame at 7 o'clock. Make sure you guys are in line before 7 o'clock if you guys want to ride with us once again, twice again, as many times as you would like. No two safaris are ever the same. The animals do make sure of that. Now here in Rame, we don't like to leave you with the word goodbye. It's far too sad, far too final. We like to leave you with the word Kuaharini, which means to go well. So Kuaharini friends, go well, go wild, enjoy the rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom. If you guys have any questions at all, once again, my name is Chelsea. My windows are literally always open. Come up and ask when we dock.